Hey guys, I got a little box here from Roush, cold air intake for my 2008 Mustang GT. Just figured I would show a quick little video on how to put this thing in. Take a look in the box, see what's in the box. Some instructions. There's the main tube. Hose clamps. Set some of this stuff out. Looks like a gasket. Here's the filter. Another piece here. Like another piece for the intake. This looks like the air box. Okay. Get that out of the road. Okay, we'll take a look under the hood. We just have the stock intake here. Okay, here's the stock intake here. Never swapped one of these before, but looks fairly simple. So we'll go ahead and set up the camera here, a better angle, so you guys can see what's going on. Okay, first thing we're going to do is disconnect the battery negative cable, which I've already loosened. This is the precaution. Battery is unhooked now. So after we disconnect the battery, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the hose clamps. Get those loosened up. We're going to disconnect the mass airflow sensor, which is right here. Just pull that red tab, squeeze in, and it comes right off. So next, there's a bolt that holds the air box into the fender. All the way down there, 10 millimeter. So we're going to go ahead and take that bolt out. There it is. Now it says to remove the air inlet assembly, which is the air box. Take that loose. This just pops right out. Now there's two grommets here. You can see them right there and then here. The instructions say to leave those in the car. So I'm gonna just push those right back down where they were. Do need to remove the mass airflow sensor, the factory one. It takes a T20 Torx bit. So we're going to go ahead and find the Torx bit here and remove those. Go. There's the sensor. We're going to go ahead and put this off to the side. Now I believe we're done with the airbox. Okay, now there's a 10mm bolt here. It's for the anti-lock brake system bracket. It says to remove this bolt and save it. I assume we're going to use it. There's a 10mm bolt. Now it says to install the filter adapter into the cold air dam using 3 hex button head bolts. There's the bolts that come with the kits. There's threads in the back of the adapter. And they simply just go through the box on the back side. It says to use the aluminum spacer, which is this, and install into the air dam box hole, which is that hole. It says to use the provided bolt. There was no bolt provided, so I'm going to use the existing bolt that came out of the other airbox, the original airbox. And then you have to push these grommets down in. Well, I guess they're already in there, but these are the grommets that go in the car. I found it easier just to go ahead and just put them on there and just set it down all in one piece. Use the provided washer on top, and then the existing bolt came out. Go ahead and get that in place. And it says to reuse the existing bolt for the anti-lock brake, which lines right up with that part of the airbox. So here's the bolt that came out of the anti-lock brake. It does not say to use any washer. There is none provided. So we're just gonna put it in like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and snug up this back bolt here too. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and install clamp on each side loosely. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the rest of the intake, the original intake. So we have a room here to work. So there's a little hose on the end here. Needs to come off. To get that off, if you reach around the bottom and just pull the little green bottom tab up a little bit, that'll slide right off. That should be all you need to remove the intake. It just pops right off. So next we're going to install a grommet into the Roush intake tube. There's a little rubber grommet that's included here. There's the intake tube here, right on the end. It's a little rubber grommet. Go ahead and get that in there. Might have to work it a little bit from the other side too, like so. So next we're going to install the aluminum fitting into the grommet hole itself. And that you just shove down in until it stops. It's a nice tight seal. You can see it there on the inside. So then it comes with an insert tube that goes on the inside of here. That's for emissions purposes, and since I'm not putting a tune on right away, I'll need that tube. But it does allow you to take that out later on if you want to put a tune on your car. So here's the intake adapter. It just sits inside. Line up, there is a slot in there. Line that slot up with the other slot for your mass airflow sensor. Kind of just snaps in place. And there you go. Then is the mass airflow sensor. And it says do not use the factory bolts. It can only go in one way, I believe, but the problem is you have to line it perfectly with the adapter inside there. And if you're not sure which direction it goes, there is an arrow on here. Hard to see. Let's see if I can focus. It says airflow direction. So you want to make sure you get that airflow direction correct. So in this case, the silver part's going to be up. Get these bolts in. And they are Allen head, button head bolts. Okay. We'll go ahead and tighten up these bolts for the mass airflow sensor. Next, we're going to install the oval rubber nozzle adapter. And the two hose clamps. Again, these are both 72 millimeter clamps that were provided in the kit. They're definitely tight. Loosen them up a little bit. Okay, so then the next step is to actually tighten this on to the intake. We're going to do that loosely here. Actually though, the hump hose has to go on first. There's no way you can get this on after the fact. So I'm loosen these up just a little bit here. Get this on. Since I've never installed this kit before, I did find out I made a mistake. This little adapter here, I installed it backwards. The reason I know that is because the intake connector does not fit on the outside. It fits on the smaller of the two, I guess. See, I had it installed this way, and it actually needs installed this way. Easy enough to switch. Go ahead and tighten them down a little bit. And then now we can snug this up. We'll slip it over the top here. Okay, eventually does go on. It takes a little bit of patience to get that thing on there. It is a pretty tight fit, and I don't have the clamp tightened at all. So we're going to go ahead and install the oval intake at the same time. We're going to push on the other end of the adapter. Loosen that hose clamp up, because it is a tight fit. Okay, then slide the end on. Make sure these hose clamps are loose. There we go. Position these hose clamps little bit further down. There we go. Same with these ones. I'm going to spin these around. There we go. So now we can tighten all the hose clamps up. I'm sure that we're still tighter here. Moved it just a little bit. Take the top up here. Okay. Yep. We'll go ahead and install the mass airflow sensor connector. That snaps in, push the red pin. And we're going to go ahead and install the air filter itself. And it already has the clamp around it, as you can see. Sure it's tucked back against the housing as much as it can be before tightening. Nice and snug. And then next we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and install the rubber molding, which is pre-cut to the proper length. So this is just going to go on the top edge here, all the way to the edge. There we go. There we go. So the last step in the instructions here say to cut the factory ends off the breather hose and install in the supplied rubber hose. Instead of cutting the ends off, I usually just heat these with a heat gun. I've done it before with other fittings, so that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm just going to heat this with a heat gun, slip that fitting off, and then slip it in the new rubber hose. Let's get it a little hotter here. Generally, once you can start spinning the fitting, then it's getting close. Does not want to come loose. Yeah, got it started now, so should be able to get this thing off. There we go. See? Now I can reuse this hose if I ever need to later on. While it's still warm, I'm gonna go ahead and slip the other one into the rubber hose that was provided. Just till it's flush. Now, just install back on the car. Like that, and we're good. So that completes the install. Not too bad, just take your time. The instructions are pretty thorough, so just make sure you read every step. And it does include pictures, which are pretty detailed as well. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. Appreciate it.